Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here with the IIMFL Smart Money Alliance. It's a beautiful Monday morning, May 3rd, 2021. It's so nice to be back with you. Due to travel schedules, we did not have the daily Zoom trainings, these trainings last week. And so I sure missed it and glad to be back with you. For those of you that may be new or not familiar, we get together most weekday mornings at this time, about a minute before 8 o'clock Central. Spend about 30 minutes together going over success stories, strategies, tactics, updates, and answering questions and concerns that you may have. So we use Zoom's question and answer function, Q&A function, kind of like a chat box. So at any point when you have questions, comments, concerns, you'll type it into the question and answer box, and then we'll get to that as soon as possible. We're going to cover two different topics today, and I'll present the first, and then we'll pause and have some discussion off of it, answer any questions, and then move on to the second. Both of them are equally important, but we needed to get both addressed here early on. Again, today is Monday, May 3rd, so it's the beginning of the first week of the new month. And so we wrapped up April with outstanding success. April was a record-setting month for us in terms of client funding, in terms of client enrollments, and in terms of distribution partner growth. So a thumbs up across all three areas. I think May is going to be absolutely spectacular. Our economy is starting to open up. We're starting to get back in front of people, which we'll talk about here with topic one. And the demand for capital is still very, very high with small businesses. So let's go ahead and work on topic one, and then we'll pause and then discuss it. So our background really came from an educational mindset. Our goal is to get out in front of in local communities and educate about how to access capital. And our most common presentation now is called 27 Mistakes, which we'll talk about in a moment, that keeps people from being able to access capital. Over the past year or a little bit more, it became very difficult, if not impossible, to really get in front of people live. And so we and many of you have been doing more with Zoom, but and online virtual learning. I don't believe that it's a good substitute. I think in this delicate topic of personal finance and access to capital, I'm confident that we all will accomplish our potential better if we're getting in front of our prospects. They get to know us, they get to trust us, we're able to get them engaged. So I'm not here to say that all of you need to be teaching live workshops, but I do want to talk about some myths and some facts about how to teach these workshops and maybe how we can help you accomplish it more so. This is a picture, not a grand picture, but a picture of me. I'm the bald guy there teaching at the Tyler Public Library. And so libraries and churches are two great venues to teach. So when we talk about venues and teaching, we want to think about having a host. A host to us is an institution or I guess an individual that's doing two things for you. A host is going to provide the room. So in this case, the Tyler Public Library provided this room. We didn't rent it. We didn't pay for it. They provided us this room. Now, this was my laptop and their projector, which is somewhere up here in the roof. I guess we don't see it. But a host should provide the room, and typically at no cost. Secondly, a host provides the audience. So you see these, and there's more people than what's visible on the screen. But these people, I didn't know these people before I taught this workshop. I didn't market to any of these people. I didn't talk to any of these people before the workshop. Do you know how they showed up at the workshop? The host invited them. In this case, the Tyler Public Library provided us the room at no charge and marketed this important topic out through their conduits of communication. That's really the way that you're going to accomplish the greatest success, is working with hosts, and the hosts provide the room and the hosts provide the audience. I did an event shortly after this one in Houston. So this again was in Tyler near us in East Texas. I was invited down by the owner of a building that operates like a virtual office space in Houston. And I should have loaded that picture. It was kind of alarming. We didn't have the social distancing there. That room was just packed. It was like a mob, but in a good way, of people that were anxious and interested in accessing capital. So point number one, lead generation through education is fun and effective. What are we talking about? Leads. So we're trying to get clients into the access to capital program. Not the point of what we're talking about today, but what we know is there's no upfront cost for the clients. We guarantee them a minimum of $100,000 capital raise, as we'll talk about in a moment. Now we're guaranteeing them their first capital raise within the first 30 days. There's no minimum credit scores, no minimum time in business. So to qualify. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is educate to create your sales funnel for access to capital, and teaching or education is a great way to do this. The typical presentation that we're now using is the 27 mistakes PowerPoint, and you can actually view an on-demand version of it on 27mistakes.org if you wanted to hear what we talk about. If you want to teach this, you can teach it now, and this is what's highlighted in yellow. If you want me or one of our more experienced presenters to come out, we will come out and teach this for you. We stopped that offer over the past year because of all the logistical issues, but we're back to that point now. And really it's going to be a greater focus of my time is traveling and being out in the field to support each of you. So if you are willing to coordinate an event, but maybe you want me or one of our senior team to come out and present the first one or first few to get you comfortable, we're more than happy to do that. And we don't charge you for that, of course. Still would be your responsibility to get the host for the reasons I've discussed. But if your hesitation is you're not quite ready to be in front of the room to teach the curriculum, then we've got your back on that. There's a few different myths or misunderstandings or even BS when it comes to teaching workshops from our opinion and from our experience. I want to address those briefly. First of all, don't fall into the trap that you think you have to have 100 people to have a successful workshop, because that's BS. Having a group of 10 or more, ideally 20 or more, is a great audience size. So don't fall into the mindset of, oh, I've got to have this super big room. I've got to incur a lot of cost to rent the room and to market. If you present workshops, use education in our model, you will never rent a room. You will never have to pay for marketing. The hosts provide the room and they provide the butts in the seats. So that's number one. Number two, you don't have to be an expert presenter. We can get you prepared to stand up in front of the room and present, or you can have one of us come out and do the first event or two for you to help you get more comfortable with it. It's our pleasure to do so. So in summary, teaching small group workshops is an excellent way of filling your funnel. We typically teach the 27 mistakes PowerPoint, which if you're not familiar with it, you can go to 27mistakes.org and see an on-demand version of it. We work with hosts that provide typically the room and the audience. If you want us to provide you the speaker, we can do so. And then the takeaway is that we want to help each individual see if they qualify for the $100,000 guaranteed funding. And we have a specific step-by-step training available on the career page if you're not familiar with that. All right, so let's take some questions that each of you have. So Dion is asking about the virtual side. So yes, we're happy to help you with the virtual events as well. But I will tell you that doing the live in person is the way to go whenever possible. You want to get in front of the audience. You want them to know you. You want them to trust you. We immediately want to help them see if they qualify, if they're eligible for the no upfront cost $100,000 program. So yes, Dion, happy to help you for virtual events, but getting in front of live people is our bread and butter. It has been in the past. Haven't been able to do it much over the past year, but that is our focus going forward, starting now, May 2021, and going forward. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns on teaching small group workshops? John's asking about curriculum. And so a good entry point is the 27 mistake presentation that I mentioned. But you're right, John. There are many other topics that could be taught. And we probably have a catalog of close to 30, maybe 40 different topics that we have the PowerPoints, we have the instructor guides, the participant guides, and so forth. But I think for a given audience, I would start with the 27 mistakes because it's valuable information and it really sets the client up for your assistance. All right, so Peggy has practiced presenting the 27 mistakes and she has a host. Is that where we start in person? So I understood your statement, Peggy. I don't understand your question. Is that where we start in person? If you have a host, then you need a date, right? And the date is the given day of the calendar that you're going to be standing up in front, or you want us to stand up in front and we teach the audience. But yes, the 27 mistakes topic is a great one to start if we're targeting entrepreneurs. Now, if we are focused on credit literacy, we have the whole Credit 101 curriculum, which is a little bit different than what we're talking about today. We're talking about more on the access to capital side. All right, Dion asked, how long should the presentation be? Normally, we like to book it for an hour, but then try to wrap it up, the presentation within about 45 minutes to give an opportunity for Q&A. But what we really want to do is be ready, Dion, before these people leave the room, not where they feel coerced or forced, but we want to help determine to see if they qualify for the $100,000 before guaranteed before they leave the room. I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and did a presentation. It was a much larger group, but we actually had some laptops set up to the side of the room, and people would come right on over and after the presentation, and they were lined up so we could determine if they qualify or not. And so, yes, we do, Herman, have a sample flyer that works real well to be able to share with the host what we're going to teach on. And then you can always feel comfortable having the host watch 27mistakes.org, because that's a YouTube on-demand version of what you or we will be presenting there in front of them. Because the host is concerned, well, what are these people going to talk about? Well, that's why we put this up on the YouTube, so you can use it as maybe a training tool, and the host can listen to it to vet us out. Carlos asked, should we train for these events? Or I'm sorry, should we charge for these events? And so normally we do not charge for these live events. Sometimes the host will require a fee. In the case of a library, they would never allow a fee, but normally we don't charge for the live events. because what we want to do is cast a very wide net and get as many people into the access to capital program as possible. So normally we don't charge for the live events. All right, so Dion says, doing the 27 mistakes in credit boost, that's way too much. Well, you have to decide who your audience is. Are we trying to help people access capital, or are we trying to help them improve credit? While I realize there can be an overlap, those are really two different campaigns. It's very important to identify who your target audience is and what you're trying to accomplish. I think one topic per workshop is best. All right, let's see who else has any questions. Peggy's asking as far as what happens after the presentation. Yeah, after the presentation, you're going to just simply sit down with them and help them identify very quickly if they qualify for the guaranteed $100,000. And we have step-by-step instructions available on a YouTube right here. Anna Marie asked, what's the best way to market to libraries and churches? Well, what I'd recommend is reaching out to them, and we have a press release that I'll be sending it with a recording of this that works pretty well. Instead of a flyer for the library or church, we like a press release approach of creating awareness and generating interest. So Anna Marie, I would use the press release, which will get in your hands with a recording of today's video, and use that to start the conversation. And then what you're going to find is there's two types of hosts. This is an oversimplification, but let's just work with it for a second. There's two types of hosts. Hosts that normally have events and hosts that don't. So if they normally have events, it's pretty easy. Like when I approached the head librarian of the Tyler Public Library, it wasn't trying to coerce or convince. They're looking for good topics that would benefit the library and the community. And so certainly we're credible. Our presentation is valuable. It's not sales oriented. It checked all the boxes. So category one would be hosts that have had in the past, or even better yet, regularly schedule events. And so you're helping them have more content for their event schedule. In contrast, there are those hosts that have really never had events or infrequently have events. And now it's more like pushing a rope, right? Because they don't really know how to reach out to their audience, and they're just not as good of a fit. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't work with any host that's interested, but just be cognizant. There are some that regularly have events, and so they know what to do, and they just plug you in, and it's fairly automatic. But yes, Anna Marie, we'll get you that press release out, which is the way that we recommend starting the conversation with prospective hosts. All right, so let's see if we have any other questions here. James thinks there's an upfront cost for access to capital, but there's not. I think you need to understand, James, there is no upfront cost for enrolling in the Access to Capital program. At one time there was. At one time we charged all the clients, James, $2,500, that refundable deposit at the point of enrollment. Now we don't. Now they enroll, and then we help them get their first tranche of financing, and out of that, they pay the refundable deposit. So, you know, many of you are marketing it as a free program. It's self-supporting, right? Now, so certainly they're wanting to borrow money, and out of the first amount of money that they borrow, they're going to pay the refundable deposit, which allows you to get paid, James, but there is no upfront cost, for the Access to Capital program. Yes, and we'll get the press release out to everyone, Herman, with the recording of this. Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm going to pivot over to our second topic, which somewhat overlaps, but we had some good discussion for the first 20 minutes or so on teaching small group workshops. What I really want to bring attention to is, if you're just not comfortable yet getting in front of the room, then you can set up the host, facilitate the event, and myself or one of our other more experienced presenters will come out. We don't charge you for that, and come out and conduct it for you. Okay, so let's move on to topic 2. Topic 2 is an equally, maybe even more important topic, and we're tweaking the process a bit. And the reason is that so many of the clients that enroll in Access to Capital, they want funding now, with all capital, all bold letters, NOW, now. Well, of course, we've not yet built their loan package out. We haven't prepared them for business funding, but certainly what we could have done and what we are now doing is taking them for their FTF, their first tranche of financing, immediately upon enrollment. So with that being said, when they first enroll in Access to Capital, our focus is to get them their first tranche of financing. We've talked about this before. How much will their first tranche be? Might be 10,000, might be 20,000, might be more, might be less, but we want to get them whatever it is that they qualify for immediately upon enrollment, before we even start doing everything else. So that way they've got some working capital, and that also gets you paid, right? So we're able to guarantee them their first tranche of financing in the first 30 days, often within the first 7 days, but depending upon what source of capital we're using for their first tranche, it might not be immediate. So for example, we're getting a lot of clients business credit cards that are 0% interest under the EIN. That accomplishes 2 things, because really a business credit card operates much like a line of credit. So that gives them some working capital. Secondly, it builds their business credit profile, their Paydex, their Dun & Bradstreet profile. And then also that generates the first tranche of financing, FTF, that allows you to get paid, right? Because we want to help them submit their deferred refundable deposit as soon as possible, not out of their pocket, out of the first round of funding. And then that makes them happy, and that gets you paid right away. So we're doing that immediately now when they enroll. So let's talk about that process. And to you, it's not that big of a difference of what you're doing, but it's just important for you to know. So you know that your role is to not sell anyone, just simply help the prospect see if they qualify for the no upfront cost, guaranteed $100,000 or more. 100,000 is a minimum, not the maximum, through our 501c3. There's no minimum credit scores, no minimum time in business for them to qualify for the program. So what you want to do is help them see if they qualify. Again, there's step-by-step instructions on how to do this. There's a YouTube video there. It's 23 minutes long. You follow that. And if you follow it the way we are, you're going to have darn close to 100% conversion. Almost 100% of the people that you take through that qualification process, which is just 3 steps, takes 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how chatty you are. So once they have qualified, then what we're going to do, we'll be notified of that, of course, and you'll get email notification that they've enrolled. But at that point, then we're going to go ahead and ask them to complete a soft credit pull authorization. Because, of course, at this point, we've not built their business plan out. We've not built their financial forecast. Their loan package isn't ready to go for a business loan, but we can see what they qualify for FTF immediately, first tranche of financing. And we have different sources of financing for every circumstance. So even if they have terrible credit and they're pre-launch, pre-revenue, they don't have any money coming through their business yet, we can still guarantee them their first round of funding immediately. And so thirdly, that is important because that gives them their first tranche of financing, confirms their decision to work with us, and also gets you paid, right? Because your first trigger for payment is you're getting half of that refundable deposit. Again, the refundable deposit's not coming out of their pocket. It's coming out of the first round of funding. So that's where James is asking, well, there's an upfront cost. Oh, no, James, there's not. Not if you're using our program. The Access to Capital program has no upfront cost. We're going to help them get financing, and out of that financing, they'll pay their deferred refundable deposit, which they get 100% back. It's like if you and I went down to go rent an apartment. We'd pay a deposit, we'd finish the lease, we'd get the deposit back. As long as we did what we said that we would do. We finished the lease, we stayed compliant. So for these folks, no out-of-pocket cost, first round of funding, that covers the deferred refundable deposit. Half of that goes into your pocket. And that should be happening now immediately. That's going to help you a lot, because now instead of waiting to get paid for the first round, it's right away. And then you'll probably be setting up their key person policy immediately afterwards. That's going to get you paid again. And then, of course, you're paid off the capital raise. Okay, so let's get to the questions that any of you have on topic 2 now. So Herman says, thanks. You are welcome, Herman. Couple questions regarding the 605B, which isn't what we're talking about, but I'll answer the question. So the 605B is commonly referred to as the 60-day credit sweep. And I don't know the final numbers for April. We didn't have 500 clients enroll, but it was pushing 500, really our first full month of offering that 60-day credit sweep. So great success. And I think we'll probably double that this month. But what Stevie and Mark are asking, I think both about the 605B, is if they've done their soft credit pull and that we see that their credit could be improved, that would allow for greater access to capital, then we make advice. We give advice on that. And it might be that the 605B would help them. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but we would get them information to review. And so if we're going through the 605B, which is the 60, if you go to 60-day credit sweep, that's the website. But if we're going through that 60-day process to address derogatories on their credit profile, then we will not use their credit profile for funding during that time. So that's a great point, Stevie and Mark, is if they're going through the 60-day credit sweep, then we're not applying for funding during that 60 days. We can't be working on the credit profile, addressing derogatories, and concurrently using their credit. So that's an astute point that you all brought up. And yes, Stevie, the 605B can help with child support issues. Okay, Ken's asking about tracking. So as a depending upon your role, Ken, so if you want to just be an affiliate, you really don't need to track progress. You enroll, well, you help them see if they qualify. You don't even enroll them, and then you get paid. If you want to be able to log into the CRM and see status in that, then you'd become one of our better credit stores, which is a separate conversation. So you kind of get to decide what level of involvement you want to have. But as an affiliate, you're creating awareness, you're helping see if they qualify, and you're getting paid. You don't have any other involvement. But it's up to you. You decide what involvement you have. The new front-end system, though, that we've talked about certainly is giving you better feedback for everyone than we had before. All right, Alan asked, for the immediate funding, do you set up the D&B profile? So we help clients when they go through the 4-week Access to Capital program, set up their Dun & Bradstreet profile and build at least an 80 paydex score. That happens during that 4-week curriculum. That really has nothing to do, though, Alan, with the first tranche of financing, because if we waited for that, for the first tranche of financing, it would delay it. And what we're hearing from clients is they want money right away. So we get their first round, first tranche FTF financing right away. And then during that 4-week curriculum, then we're going to help them build their business credit profile, build their business plan, financial projections, and so forth. Have a loan package. All right. James is interested in the first tranche financing, so that is perfect. So all I would say is just go ahead and schedule a call with us. So this is a new process, and that's why we're talking about it today. So those of you that are clients or have submitted clients before, of course, they preceded this change in process where we're going to funding immediately. And so that's okay. All you need to do is just get them on our Calendly schedule and we can get them funded right away. So Ken wants to improve his Dun & Bradstreet scores. Well, great. So here's a step-by-step process of how to get enrolled, and we can help you, Ken. Step-by-step instructions right here. See it? Very good. All right, so Herman asked, if the client meets, well, I think he might have mistyped, but he says, Herman says, if the client meets the 60 sweep and not the FTF, how does a referral fee? So I'm assuming you mean enroll. So if they've enrolled in the 60-day credit sweep, you do the white label, which we've had training on that, and you're making right about $1,000 for that, Herman. Alan's asking, where is the first round of funding coming from? And the answer to that is it depends upon their circumstances, their mitigating circumstances, where the best source of capital is for them. That's why we need them to do the soft credit authorization so we can take a look at their 3 C's and then give them guidance of where the right type of funding is for their first tranche. Dion, yes, you emailed me this morning and I emailed you back our Zelle information. So that has already been communicated to you. You emailed me and I responded to you already this morning, Dion. Christian asked about getting financing for opening a better credit store. Yep, absolutely. And it'd really be the same process. Get yourself into the Access to Capital program. Extra space there. Access to Capital program. There's step-by-step instructions of how to do that. And then we can get you funding to do whatever it is you want to do, Christian, including open a better credit store if you want. All right. Let's see here. I think we're caught up on questions. So let me do a review. And if you have any other questions, you can pop them into the Q&A. So we're back to our daily Zoom trainings. Missed you last week, but with travel, it was very difficult to commit to being available at this time every day. We had 2 and so we'll be continuing to meet weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central, a minute or so before. Same registration as before, nothing's changed. We had 2 topics today, the first of which is getting in front of people and teaching small groups. This is me teaching at the Tyler Public Library. And the key point, takeaway points is we recommend using the 27 mistakes content. You can watch the YouTube video of that here. You want to have a host in general because the host will provide the room and the audience. If you want us to provide you the speaker, myself or one of our more experienced speakers can come out, no charge to you, and conduct the first one or few for you. And the call to action after the workshop is to help each individual see if they qualify for the no upfront cost $100,000 guarantee. And there's step-by-step instructions of how to do that on the career page. The second topic we covered today is a slight tweak in kind of the order of operations, whereby from the moment that a client enrolls in Access to Capital, our first focus is to get their first tranche of financing, even before we start working on live plan, before we start working on their business plan and financial projections. We want to just get them their first round of funding right away, because that's what many of the clients want, get you paid quicker. And we went through the simple process for that. Okay, so yes, anyone that's interested, like LJ, in getting a better credit store, there is on 60daycreditsweep.org. There's a page for that. You can submit an inquiry and we can get that set up for you. So Let me clarify that. So on 60day credit suite.org, there is a page to inquire, and we have to find out the zip code that you want to see if it's available. Stefan asks, getting people money. So the amount of funding that they're going to get through their first tranche, Stefan, is going to obviously be based upon their 3 C's. You and I have learned that. We studied that. We learned it probably in 6th grade, and you and I are out teaching it, right? When we're in front of audiences, the 3 C's. And so we're going to figure out for their first tranche financing what they qualify for. But even if they have terrible credit, we can still get them a 0% loan because there are some unique funding sources out there. Okay, well, I think we covered most of the questions and comments. We did a quick summary. I'll get this YouTube out to everyone. I'll include the press release that we would recommend that you use if you're going to go out and approach host about having this workshop. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.